Alrighty. Well, hello. Um, yeah, here we are. It's actually a nice day. I can't believe it. Of course, everything is soaked. My clothes and my shoes and everything are all soaked. I just took my wet pants off a little while ago. I was just outside. I hate that, having to put on cold, wet pants and cold, wet shoes, but it is what it is. It's part of living the way I'm living right now. Nothing ever really gets dry, and that's just how it goes. But anyway, there's Rocky. He's having a sleep there. He is. He's sleeping. Um, yeah. Anyway, it's funny. Yesterday I made a video, um, where I was picking the garbage up on the side of the road, and something does occur to me about all that. Um, when I was a kid, when I was a young man back in the 1980s and into the 1990s and so on, when I was just a young man, Canada was a very clean country. Canada was known for that. In fact, we used to comment, and we were proud of this, that when you went over to the United States, as soon as you went across the border, you'd notice the difference. There was a lot more garbage in the ditches and stuff like that, and you noticed it. And Americans noticed it too. They'd come up here, and that's one of the things they used to say is how clean things were here. They weren't seeing very much in the way of garbage and ditches and things like that. Now we got to bear in mind that the United States has a lot more people, and more people means more garbage produced too. I mean, you know, the bigger your population, the more garbage you're going to have because human beings produce waste, of all different sorts. Um, Now, one problem we did have here, because we didn't have very good infrastructure here when it comes to handling garbage and things like that, is one problem we did have was that garbage dumps used to spring up on the sides of dirt roads, the old countryside roads. Somebody would start dumping their garbage somewhere, and before long, everybody in that area would start dumping their garbage there too. And so you'd end up with a dump that went from the ditch back into the woods, and that used to be a thing. I remember that. So we weren't completely clean, but we were more clean than most places, including the United States, to the point where like I say, when we crossed the border, we noticed the difference right away. Like if you crossed over from Cornwall, Ontario, into New York State, um, going through Malone, New York, and places like that, you noticed right away uh, things just weren't as clean. And like I say, it wasn't just Canadians who noticed that. Americans coming up here from there also used to comment on it. And it used to make us kind of proud when an American would say that they couldn't get over how clean everything is here. Anyway, we can't brag about that anymore because we're dumping shit into the ditches and all over the place, and you know it's no cleaner here than it is there, and we have less of an excuse because we have less of a population. um, we have fewer people making garbage. So, and one thing too is the United States is a consumer society. Canada is too, but to a lesser degree, because the standard of living here in many ways is lower. In some ways it's higher, or at least it has been until recently. I mean, our cities were generally safer than big U.S. cities. Like, you were generally safer in Windsor than you were across the river in Detroit, and stuff like that. That's no longer the case. We can't brag about that anymore. And I know when I was a kid and we'd go to the States, one of the things was we could get things over there that weren't available here. There were a lot of products over there that just weren't available here because the companies that made them couldn't justify marketing them here because of our small population. There's more people in the state of California than there is in the entire country of Canada, just to give you an idea. That's how crazy things are. And so there were a lot of things we just couldn't get that were available in the United States. So of course, again, when you have more of a consumer culture you have, and the more people you have consuming, the more waste you're going to produce, and so the more garbage basically you're going to make, and that garbage is going to end up not always where it should be. And like I say, in Canada now, we still don't have anywhere near to the population the United States has, although our government is doing the same thing the U.S. is doing. They're bringing in a lot of immigrants, and we don't have the infrastructure to accommodate them. And we don't know who they are. A lot of them we don't know who they are, and there have been some serious criminal situations because of it, because we're bringing in these unvetted people. Just like in the United States, the issues you guys who are American are having that are watching this, we're having that too. I think we're having it to a lesser degree because we tend to have everything to a lesser degree. It generally hits the United States first, and then we get hit with it, but to a lesser degree. But we are still having it. For a country that's big in landmass but small population-wise, we are feeling it, and part of the reason we're having a housing crisis now and all the homelessness and everything is because there's more people in the country than there are places to accommodate people. And so the cost of housing has gone up accordingly because it's a supply and demand thing. Back when I was a young man, say I was 20 years old, you could buy a 1960s Chev car. Buy, say, a 1965 Chev Bel Air, for $300 in running condition. A car you could drive up and down the road without doing much work to it. Maybe you'd have to fix replace a couple of tie rod ends or something, and a tire or something like that, and it'd be good to go. Nowadays, you can't even buy a door off a car like that for $300. You see, or a bumper, or a radiator grill. Can't even buy that for $300 these days. And so, but it's because they're rare now. When I was a young man, they were still really common. There were still a lot of them around, cars like that. And so the value wasn't there. They were just an old used car. But now, because they're rare, if you want one, you pay a premium price for it. Well, the same is true with housing. When there's 1,000 people looking to get into an apartment building that has 12 apartments in it or 20 apartments in it, the landlord can set his price. Really, he can. He's got a lot of choice there, and he can put his prices up wherever he wants them. And that's what's happening anyway. Plus, the cost of running these places is higher because everything costs more. If you have people coming in to clean, you have to pay them more. Coming in to clean the corridors and stuff. Everything you buy, if you're paying for certain utilities like heat, for example, it's costing you more to heat the place. Everything is going up. Property values are going up. That means the property tax on that building goes up. The landlord has to pay that. If he has a mortgage on the place, interest rates are going up. So when he renews the mortgage, he's going to be paying a higher payment. That's got to come from the tenants. All of that comes from the tenants. So the price goes up. So some of it's greed, and some of it is just because it's costing the landlord more too to operate. And so, and like I say, they have their pick of tenants. They don't have to rent to you. They've got 1,000 other people looking to get in there. So, they've got 20 apartments and 1,000 applicants. They can rent to whoever. They don't care. They'll rent to the one they can squeeze the most money out of. And that's just business. I mean, they can't really be blamed for that. It's business. Like I say, their expenses have gone up too. But it makes it damn hard for those of us who don't have a lot of money. You know, it really does. Anyway, again, when I was a young man, I remember moving into the Royal Bank building in Perth, and there's 12 apartments in that building. And there were times that there'd be a vacant apartment, and that apartment would stay vacant for 6 months. Nobody would live there for 6 months, you know. So see, the landlords were more desperate to get people in and paying rent, because an empty space doesn't pay rent. If you have an empty unit, you're not earning anything with that. And so your income stream goes down accordingly. This is the thing anyway. So, like I say, that doesn't happen anymore. A lot of the time, a place is rented before it's even vacated by the previous tenant. The landlord has the next tenant lined up ready to move in. You know, this guy moves out today, the new guy moves in tomorrow. That's how it goes. Anyway, bottom line is there's a general lowering of the standards and of the standard of living, both here and in the United States and in other places too, in Europe and so on. And when we lower standards, we do get a lower standard of living. And yeah, there's a lot of things Canada used to brag about, and rightly so. We can't do that anymore because we're not. Well, it would be a false bragging if we did at this point. We can brag that we used to be a certain way, but we can't brag. We can brag, well, it used to be a clean country. We can still say that, but we can't say it is a clean country. I mean, look at that video I made yesterday. That's just on a small stretch of road in front of this property. Now, times that by 12 miles, because that's the distance between Perth and Smiths Falls. That's the length of this highway out here. Imagine how much garbage a man would pick up. If a man went up the road like I did and literally went from Smiths Falls to Perth picking up all the garbage, and then came back on the opposite side of the road from Perth to Smiths Falls picking up all the garbage, well, I mean, a guy like me couldn't carry it all. I'd have to put it in bags and leave it on the side of the road to be picked up later because I couldn't carry it all. And that's the thing. I mean, every couple miles there'd be a bag of garbage sitting on the side of the road to be picked up because I wouldn't be able to take it. And that's the thing. It's really bad. I mean, like it's incredible. Like just in a few feet, you pick up enough garbage to fill one of those white kitchen catcher bags. If you went a mile, you'd pick up enough to fill a good-sized black household garbage bag. Easily. Probably you'd have one filled and you'd be starting on another one. And see, again, that's people, though, too, being pigs. Because there really isn't an excuse for that. That's just a lowering of standards. We accept that now. We didn't accept it years ago, but we accept it now. So, like I say, you lower your standards, you get what you get, and it's not going to be as good. Lower standards mean less. You get less is what you get. You get less of what you want and more of what you don't want if you lower your standards. That's the bottom line. And in Canada, there's been a general lowering of standards. So now when the Americans come over here, they don't look any different at all. They come over here and, their arc ditches are full of shit and corruption just like theirs are. They don't see any difference. The one thing they do notice is the prices are a lot higher. When they put gas in their car, they're saying, holy crap, I thought it was bad back home. This is unreal. Stuff like that. They notice that. But anyway, lowering of standards. That's what it is. Lowering of standards. All right. We'll talk to you later.